During his first 4 years in a White Sox uniform, Jose Abreu was Mr. Reliable. He could very well still be that as he enters what could end up his final year on the South Side, but thanks to an uncharacteristic and unusual 2018 campaign, he needs to show he's still the same guy he's always been. Abreu, Albert Pujols, Joe DiMaggio. Following the 2017 season, those were the only 3 players in baseball history to start their careers with 4 straight seasons of at least 25 home runs and at least 100 RBIs. Abreu was in elite company, but he failed to reach those numbers in 2018, in part because of an extended slump that lasted a month and a half, during which he slashed just .180, .230, .308. Very un-Abreu-like. Though he bounced back to the point where he might have reached his usual statistical levels, the White Sox first baseman also had a couple of freak injuries at the end of the season that limited him to just 6 games after August 20. Without those stays on the disabled list, he might have made it 5 straight seasons. But still impossible to enter the 2019 campaign and feel anything but good about what Abreu can and should do for the White Sox. His production has been so consistent during his time in the major leagues, and even in last season's down year, he was elected the American League's starting first baseman and won the second Silver Slugger of his career. Changes have come for Abreu, who will be splitting his time between first base and designated hitter, even if he's not a huge fan of that latter position, thanks to the acquisition of Yonder Alonso, who will be platooning with Abreu at those 2 spots. Abreu seeing more time as a DH, the White Sox argue, will keep him off his feet and keep him in the lineup more often. It could also do a good job of extending his career as he's set to hit free agency at the conclusion of his age 32 season. But that's the thing, Abreu might not even get to free agency, which would be as good an example as any of how highly the White Sox think of him and how important he is to the present and future of this franchise. Considering the glowing reviews Rick Renteria and everyone else give Abreu on a regular basis, and the role he plays as a leader and mentor for the team's young players who will one day be the stars of a planned perennial contender, all signs point to Abreu receiving an extension and sticking with the White Sox as the team makes its transition from rebuilding to contention mode. Abreu's off-the-field attributes: he's entering a second full season of sitting next to Yoan Moncada in the home clubhouse at Guaranteed Rate Field, might be enough to earn him a spot in the team's future over the next several seasons. But if he can prove he's still capable of producing at the same levels he was before the fluky 2018 season, then that makes an extension all the more attractive to the White Sox. Not to mention it's all the rage with players set to hit the free agent market after this season. Nolan Arenado, Chris Sale, Justin Verlander, Aaron Hicks and Miles Mikolas have already signed extensions this offseason that preempted their impending free agency. Could Abreu be next? Regardless of his contract status, and Abreu in a very different lineup, one with John Jay at the top, Alonso batting behind Abreu and Eloy Jimenez even further down the line, should find plenty of opportunities to get back to the level of production he was at in his first 4 major league campaigns. And if he can do that, the White Sox will be in a better spot in the standings. If he keeps doing what he's always done off the field, the White Sox will be in a better spot for the long haul. Click here to download the new My Teams app by NBC Sports. Receive comprehensive coverage of your teams and stream the White Sox easily on your device. Daniel Palka came out of nowhere in 2018 and inserted himself into the conversation about the White Sox long-term future. In 2019, he'll have work to do to stay in it. Palka led the team with 27 home runs last season, a franchise record for a rookie lefty, in addition to earning fan-favorite status among Southside baseball supporters. But he knows as much as anyone that he's got more to do to be an everyday player in the big leagues. He batted just .240 with an on-base percentage under .300 in 2018, and his numbers against left-handed pitchers were poor enough that he had just 83 plate appearances versus southpaws. defense made it seem like he was best suited to be a designated hitter, though to his credit he worked very hard to change that, and that was the focus of his off-season. And so being able to play the outfield on a regular if not daily basis will be the thing that determines whether or not Palka can stay in that conversation about what this team looks like when the contention window opens. The White Sox greatly limited the number of opportunities Palka will have to swing the bat as a DH this season when they acquired Yonder Alonso in an off-season trade with the Cleveland Indians. Alonso and Jose Abreu are set to platoon at first base and designated hitter, pretty much speaking for all the at-bats at those two positions. And so Palka's lone road to playing time lies in the outfield. However, the outfield is also going to be one of the more competitive spots on the roster in 2019. Eloy Jimenez is expected to be the team's everyday left fielder, and veteran John Jay, another off-season acquisition, isn't going anywhere, though he might not be an everyday player or play exclusively one position. That leaves just a couple spots for additional outfielders. Palka, Adam Engel and Larry Garcia are all expected to be on the opening day roster, but one might get squeezed out come April 17, the earliest date the White Sox would need a fifth starting pitcher. We'll see how that roster crunch plays itself out. For Palka, though, the formula for sticking around is simple: the glove. Palka's power bat is an attractive attribute that neither Engel nor Garcia can claim. Palka's off-season work on his defense pays off. His bat will likely keep him around. And it's a valuable thing to have that power. The White Sox came one Avisail Garcia homer away from having 5 players in the 20-homer club, but Palka was the team leader and 5 ahead of Abreu, the second-place finisher in that department with 22 long balls. Keeping that power in the lineup, and adding that of Jimenez and Alonso, would make for a drastically different, in a good way, White Sox offense. In the long term, that left-handed power would be extremely valuable coming off the bench in a pivotal moment. Palka proved himself clutch in 2018. If he can improve the other elements of his game, Palka could go from future situational power bat to everyday player. So that's what is on the line for him in 2019. It's an important year for him to establish himself as a part of those long-term plans. He worked his way into the conversation, out of nowhere, last year. This year, it's about claiming a spot in that lineup of the future. Click here to download the new My Teams app by NBC Sports. Receive comprehensive coverage of your teams and stream the White Sox easily on your device. With the rebuilding White Sox, a good deal more attention has been placed on the prospects on their way to the South Side than many of the players who are already there. 2019 should be no different, with Eloy Jimenez, the top-ranked prospect in the organization, and Dylan Cease, who MLB Pipeline named its minor league pitcher of the year in 2018, on the verge of reaching the majors and ready to bring with them tangible examples of rebuilding progress. But Jimenez and Cease, like Michael Capech last season, can't swing things from rebuilding mode to contention mode all by themselves. That transition can't happen until a whole host of long-term pieces arrive. And so the arrival of someone like Zach Collins carries plenty of importance, as well. Unlike the other two, Collins' ascension to the big leagues in 2019 isn't exactly assured. It would make sense to see him, along with fellow catching prospect Sebi Zabale, sometime after rosters expand in September. He spent the entire 2018 season at Double-A Birmingham and figures to spend close to the entire 2019 season at Triple-A Charlotte. Part of Collins' importance stems from his status as the team's first-round pick in 2016. White Sox first-round picks haven't had a ton of success since Carlos Rodon in 2014. Carson Fulmer had a disastrous 2018 campaign 3 years after he was taken in the first round. Zach Birdie, Collins' fellow 2016 first-rounder, is still on the mend from Tommy John surgery. Jake Burger, the 2017 first-round selection, suffered a pair of Achilles tears last season. Collins is hardly the organization's only hope in that department, with last summer's choice, Nick Madrigal, already ranked as the team's No. 5 prospect, and Birdie and Berger can still develop into successful players, despite their bad injury luck. But as patience gets stretched thinner and thinner as the rebuilding process marches on, hitting on a recent first-rounder would be a very good thing for the White Sox. And Collins showed some good signs last year. He reached base at a terrific .382 clip, walking 101 times. A slight slide in his home run total, from 19 in 2017 to 15 in 2018, was at least aesthetically mitigated by his victory in the Home Run Derby at the Southern League All-Star Game. But there are perhaps more questions than answers about how he'll fare at the major league level at this point. Collins said during the early weeks of spring training that he felt good about how his defense has progressed, and he got good reviews in that department from elsewhere in the organization. But those questions won't go away until he's the everyday backstop in the big leagues. If and when that happens, then the questions about his defensive abilities that have hounded him since he was drafted can go away. Collins also hit just .234 last season, struck out 158 times and finished with a .786 OPS, the lowest of his minor league career to this point. None of that is to suggest that Collins can't still blossom into the White Sox catcher of the future. He's the leading candidate to fill that role right now, and the team has plenty of faith that he will live up to his first-round status. But 2019 is an important year for him. After Jimenez and Cease, he'll likely be the biggest name prospect to reach the majors this season. Given developmental delays caused by injuries elsewhere in the organization, it'll be good for the White Sox if Collins can show some more progress in the rebuilding process simply by making it to the big leagues. Click here to download the new My Teams app by NBC Sports. Receive comprehensive coverage of your teams and stream the White Sox easily on your device.